Welcome to another Be All In episode. Today's guest speaker is Gretchen TeBockhorst, and she owns the award-winning public relation and marketing firm Prim & Co. out here in Denver, Colorado. Gretchen and her company specialize in 6 primary categories, including hospitality, travel, health and wellness, nonprofits, consumer products and services, and retail and real estate. We are super excited to have you on here just to share your knowledge and to give any advice that you may have for people that are struggling with marketing, because as Kyle and I know, and I'm sure you know, you can never know enough or learn enough about ways to market because it's such a changing, the industry changes all the time. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Well, thanks for having me. I was excited when you reached out.
Yeah, it's always good to catch up.
Yep.
So for our viewers, we'd love to begin with just getting a little bit of your background into your experience and then understanding the decisions that you had to make, which led you to creating your company.
Sure. So before starting Prim & Co., I was the director of marketing and public relations for an international hospitality group. It's called Richard Sandoval Hospitality. And when I was with them, he had 47 restaurants around the world and boutique hotels. He started to branch into boutique hotels. And during my time there, we were opening businesses in Dubai, Hong Kong, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and it gave me the opportunity to work with some of the best PR agencies in the world. So I was managing Richard's national PR, and then we would hire local agencies every time we would launch in a new market, because honestly, who knows the market better than a local agency? So it gave me a fine-tuned understanding of what to expect in a phenomenal PR and marketing agency. So when I decided to go off on my own, I knew exactly what I wanted to emulate. Unfortunately, I did also work with some not so great PR and marketing agencies and had some pretty terrible service in some areas, but I do think that was a teaching opportunity just to know from the client perspective what they expect, and in terms of expectations, how you can improve things for them. So when my husband and I decided to start a family, we knew that my current travel situation just wasn't going to be great for my current work or my current home life situation. It would essentially turn him into a single dad, and he didn't want to be a single dad. And I wanted to see my kids. I'd be gone for 2 weeks at a time opening these restaurants, and that's too long to be away. So I knew I wanted to do something locally, and I initially started freelancing. And this was, at the beginning, it was just a way to pay the bills, to be quite honest. I thought I'll freelance for some other agencies. I've been doing this for years. I'll do this while I look for another job, a full-time job with benefits and all those good things that full-time jobs come with. And once I started freelancing for one agency in particular in Denver, who had been around for 15 years at the time, it became very clear very quickly that I was teaching her, the owner, more than she was teaching me. I was introducing her to my national media contacts. I was creating the proposals to pitch the clients. I was selling the clients. I was securing the clients. And then I was acting as their account manager on top of that. And then of course you're getting, 20% of the profit or whatever, probably less than that. And you're doing all of the work, including retaining the client in the first place. So just took a hard look at myself and thought, I can do this. It's a risk, but I can do this on my own. And so then started freelancing just by myself instead of under an agency, and ended up getting my first client. And my first client paid me $750 a month. And so I was going from a director level salary in an international corporation to $750 a month. And my husband thought I had lost my mind. and definitely was not on board with this entire scenario. But I said, give it time. After 6 months, if things don't improve, then I'll throw in the towel and I'll start looking for something else. I'll start looking full time. And thankfully, we did have some savings and we were able to pay for our mortgage and do the things that you need to do when you're an adult. And because of the work I was providing, business just started coming in. And it was almost all through referrals, which is the best way to acquire business. Um, our current clients, or my current clients at the time, were just telling their friends, their colleagues, people in business groups they were in, that I was making a difference for them. And so they started pushing other clients our way, and I ended up retaining those people. And then it finally got to a point where I needed help. And I hired my first full-time employee. This was, I think, 7 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. The agency itself isn't very old. We've been growing really quickly. But I knew I needed somebody who was very experienced, because I wanted to make sure that bringing on a new person, our clients were still going to get that level of marketing and PR that they would get from me. So I didn't want to hire a lower level person. I wanted to make sure I hired someone who could give our clients the same experience that I was giving our clients. So I ended up paying my first employee more than I paid myself, just knowing that that would be her expectation. And so I paid her more. My first employee ended up making more than me for about a year. And then things really started to change, and things started to pick up. We were able to charge higher retainers, get just clients with bigger budgets because we had created a name for ourselves. And now I do pay myself more than I pay my employees, which is the goal as a business owner.
Right.
And it has been about 7 years now.
That's awesome. Yeah, no,
Wow.
it's good to see that you've become like really successful in what you do, especially because you're passionate about it, right? So that's the goal, is to find something that you love and take off with it, because the money
Yep.
will come, as
Yep.
it has in your situation. But I did want to backtrack just a little bit. So from a freelance perspective, did you market yourself via like Upwork or Fiverr, or did you have a landing page for your company? Well, for yourself?
I did. Yep. So when I was freelancing for the other agency, I was on Upwork and I did not have a website. But when I decided to branch out on my own, I continued with Upwork and still represented myself as a freelancer, because it was in the end just me working by myself. But I created a website that gave more of an agency persona. I would never lie and say I'm an agency, even though it's just me. But it definitely gave the idea of multiple people working on an account. And that's partially because at sometimes there were times when I did have multiple people working on the account. So I would bring in other freelancers with specific focus areas and specialties if it wasn't something that I had the bandwidth to take on. But the website, that gives you credibility. It's really hard, no matter how big or small the business, to sell yourself without a website. It's like a storefront. It's like a business card. That's the first thing people ask for. So I do think before I created the website, I probably lost some potential clients. But as soon as that site was up, it was a great place to drive traffic.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm assuming you have like your Google Analytics, your Bing Analytics, like all of that stuff connected, so you can see the
Mhm.
traffic and it'll help with conversions.
Yep, and from a marketer's perspective, we love that. We love all things digital marketing because it helps us prove our value. Whether it's for my website or our clients' websites. Now we can say we drove X amount of traffic to your website, and here are the number of clicks we received to your reservation page, or whatever it might be.
Right. So if like a company doesn't have that stuff set up and they may not know where to begin with like a Facebook pixel or with analytics working the back end, do you help provide that, that service to them on the website front?
We do. So we don't design websites. So we usually work as more of a liaison between the owner and the web designer. So for I'd say 75% of our clients, we manage their social media accounts. And in order to track social media success, you need those pixels on your website. And so we'll typically work with their web designer, whoever that might be, to make sure that that's included and then provide any instructions needed to help them get that set up.
Okay, so you don't work like any of the back end on the tech side. You're more of like the front UI. Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely we're not jumping into that realm right now.
Right.
So for us, it's more about communications. It's more about the creative component when it comes to marketing. So we know just enough to be helpful, but once you really dive into the design and development, there we have referred partners that we use who we really trust.
See, that's great. Building that network, and then other people get work, and
Yep.
I
Oh
love the
yeah, and they refer
collaboration.
clients to us too. And that's another thing that I think really helped us to succeed in the beginning. I made it a point to reach out to other agency owners, larger PR and marketing agency owners, just to ask them what worked for you, what did not work for you, what would you do differently if you could, that kind of thing. And they were incredibly helpful. I was expecting, majority of these people just to say, wait, you're asking me advice and you want to eventually become my competition? No, thank you. But everybody, every single person I reached out to, and most of these people were strangers, just were so happy to open their doors at that point in time. We were all having in-person meetings, and I sat down with many of them, and they just talked to me about their business and how it took off. And that was also I would say the catalyst to me understanding how important referrals should be, because a lot of those agencies who have larger retainer requirements began to refer clients to me. So they knew I was good at what I did. They had actually sat down with me and they had a one-on-one conversation with me. They trusted me. And so if somebody couldn't afford their retainer at that point in time, they would then refer that person to me, a smaller business, to say, we're not a great fit, but reach out to Gretchen. She'll probably be able to help you out. And in the beginning, I do think that's really why the business took off. It's those connections, that network.
Yep.
Wow, yeah.
That's why, one of the reasons Kyle and I started this particular podcast segment, because with the entrepreneurial drive, and just the people that they might be on the smaller end of companies or just trying to get their name out there, but the network, like building this network of like-minded individuals, it's helped. Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's helped us in a long way, just as much as it's helped the people that are also on here.
Yep.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Then your network is everything, and it sounds like such a cliche, and it's just, people attend networking events, and that in itself can just be mind numbing, just speaking to a bunch of strangers and trying to kind of sell yourself. But it's those one-on-one connections that have really proven to be impactful for me. And now I'm trying to pay it forward to these other people who are now in my space at one point in time. And so now I'm trying to help the smaller business, knowing that at one point in time that was incredibly helpful for me. And so now I'm really trying to kind of pay it forward in that way.
Yeah, no, that's great. Did you have one of those moments where you're like, yes, this is it? Like there's no going back now, when you had your company
We're
start?
officially a success kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
I think probably when I hired my third full-time employee, because at that point in time, I had two account directors who were both very high level again, and we hired our first account manager. And I think at that moment, I felt like, oh, I'm supporting three people's livelihood now. Their success is dependent on this business succeeding. But it was also very gratifying knowing that I'm making enough money now to support the lives of 3 other people in their full-time jobs and their benefits. And I think for some reason that was a big one for me, hiring my 3rd person.
Yeah. Sorry, Kyle, I feel like I cut you out sometimes. Go ahead, buddy.
You're good. Yeah, very, very inspiring story. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people that we have on this podcast where, it seems like, life's just made for them. Like they've got a great job, they're making great money, but it's just something internal to where they're just not at that full happiness level yet.
Mm-hmm.
And like you mentioned, I mean, your story fits that mold. And I was just kind of curious as to, there's obviously a lot of different challenges outside of, internal challenges that people have when they make those kind of decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the toughest part internally for you, whether that's mentally or anything like that, whenever you made that decision to take that jump and say, I think I can really create my own business and be successful with this, this area?
The toughest piece for me was the fact that my family did depend on me. So when I started the business, I had one newborn baby, or he was probably, maybe it wasn't newborn. He might have been 6 months old or something like that. And about a year into the business, I became pregnant with twins. And that was a big moment for me just in terms of decision making. Okay, now we have 3 kids, and the twins were a surprise. Well, we knew we were going to have another baby. We did not know that baby was going to actually be 2 babies. And so that changes your whole financial future. That's 3 college educations, that's 3 cars to buy, 3 mouths to feed, all the expenses that come along with a child. And that really had me thinking, did I make a mistake? I'm not just putting myself in risk, I'm putting my family at risk. And we had a home that my husband's salary could afford the mortgage, but we probably couldn't do much else. We were dependent on those 2 salaries to live the lifestyle that we wanted to live. And so that really had me questioning myself. And it was funny, my husband, who was so just not on board in the beginning, he was the one who actually pushed me at that point and said, look how much you've done. Look how much you've done in the last 2 years. I mean, you have so much further to go, and you're already a success. Like, you can't turn back now. And so things really changed in his mind too. And I'd say that was a moment where I questioned myself, but ended up turning things around.
Yeah, it's nice to have that support. That was going to be one of my questions, was like the support from your family and your friends. Was there anybody besides like maybe yourself and some mindset that thought, hey, you probably shouldn't do this?
I can't think of anyone that really said you shouldn't do this. I think there were a few people who just would kind of look at me funny, like, okay, that's pretty risky. You've never owned a business before, but okay. And I've always been a publicist and a marketing expert, which is very different from being a business owner. It's an entirely different set of skills and an understanding. So I had to learn how to create a cash flow spreadsheet, things that we don't do often in marketing because that's a business thing. We had somebody in finance working on that. So it was definitely, I definitely had some looks, but I don't think anybody really said, don't do it, thankfully.
Yeah. I think Kyle and I know what those looks are like when we take our camera into the gym to like film our workouts and stuff. Yeah, we get looks like that are like, what are you doing? Meanwhile, I guess they don't realize it's the 21st century. Everybody's filming everything.
Well, that's what I was just thinking at the gym too. It seems like that's kind of the norm now, to film your workout. So many people are doing that.
Right. Yep. I think people just don't want to get caught up in like the background, which I understand. But at the end of the day, it's not like if you're standing there filming somebody and you're trying to take it in like a Walmart greeter, then it could be a little intense. But if you're just filming your workouts, then I think it's not too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, not too bad.
But so you talked a little bit about education and being able to pay for colleges. And Kyle and I, like, we both graduated college, but we feel as if we've learned a lot more, obviously, from like our internships and the experiences that we've had. So as important as education is, do you think that obviously like the experience that you've had, that you'd be able to get to the point where you're at without necessarily your college education? Or any advice for like people that are in college?
For me as an employer, and I'll start there, I look for college graduates mostly because it shows me that number one, they can complete a very difficult task. This is something that you have to put your mind to. It's not just difficult in the way that you have to think and study and do all the things that you do in college, but it's a time commitment. You're dedicating 4 years of your life or however many years of your life to study, knowing that you could be making more money at that point in time bartending or doing one of those, heavy cash flow types of positions, but you don't. You go to college instead and you work your way through that 4 years. And so I like knowing that that person has enough dedication and just to finish that major task. But it also, you learn so much in college that in my opinion, I think you use that you don't even know you use. So for instance, a big piece of our job is writing. And it's AP style writing. It's a very specific type of writing that you do not learn in high school. You need to take journalism classes. You need to take public relations classes. You need to learn how to organize your thoughts a certain way. And these are things that you need to know before stepping into a role as a publicist. So I do think college is important for this particular career path, a career in marketing or public relations. That said, I do think there are other career paths that, like technical career paths in particular, where experience is so much more impactful than the college education. And that's just knowing from my experience, knowing people in IT, people in coding, people in web design or graphic design. And these are either self-taught or internet taught. And some of them are just very talented and well paid. And those aren't things that they learned from college. And so I think a lot of it just does depend on the job you're talking about, where you plan to go after college.
Right. Yeah, that's what my he does now. He builds websites and he's all about the back end lifestyle. So he's turned himself into that tech expert of, how to code, and he codes in multiple different languages. He learns coding languages like an interpreter does if they're traveling the world. It's ridiculous.
Wow. He'll have a job forever. I mean, he'll always be needed. That's something that I won't push my kids to do, but if they're wavering, it's like, get into coding, just learn how to code.
Yep.
We'll figure something out from there.
In all honesty. And that was one thing in, like, at least, in mine and Kyle's high school, that they didn't push. Like, nobody pushed coding, like C++, Java, Python. Nobody pushed that stuff. They just pushed Spanish,
Oh, yeah.
And it's two different, you're on two different wavelengths. But
and now I think they're teaching in elementary school now, coding. I think that's part of the curriculum in a basic public school, elementary school, is coding now. So somebody at some point in time understood that this is a very important skill to have, a very useful skill to have.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, so you had talked a little bit about like influencers, and I think that it's important for people to understand that, because I feel like I go on social media nowadays, and it's like 10, 11, 12-year-olds are making six figures, and they have, 2 million, 5 million followers. They don't know what to do with their money. But the point behind that is, like, I think it's important for people to understand that just because they market themselves on TikTok or on, Instagram, whatever the case may be. It could be a lot different when they're actually marketing for a particular brand. And I think that goes hand in hand with what you were talking about in terms of like education and experience, and just being able to write in that AP style.
Yep. And we have actually had a negative experience using an influencer for some social media work we had. And that's because I saw that she did a phenomenal job as an influencer. She had a lot of engagement. She had really cool content that you wanted to watch. She had beautiful photography, beautiful videography. And what I ended up missing was that she did not have the business side of things. So she was not on the operations side enough to understand what the business needed on a marketing side. So just to give an example, with the restaurants we work with, we're working with Open Table, and we're trying to decide how many click-throughs are going to that Open Table reservation link and how we can push people to that Open Table reservation link. And then we pull reporting and we show our clients how much certain ad campaigns or posts, whatever they might be, have actually driven traffic to that. And that was new to her. And with anyone in digital marketing, this should be a very obvious topic. This should be something that you do. It's all about reporting. It's all about proving your return. And she didn't like the reporting piece. She wasn't quite as organized as the marketing experts we had when it came to content calendars, things like that. And I look at bringing on social media people in an entirely different way now. You need to be a content creator. You need to create relevant, captivating content, but you need to understand the business side, because in the end, we're working with clients. We're working with people who want us to make them money. And if they have all the engagement in the world and no results, then that's not beneficial to them. It has to be both.
Right. I think it's great that you say that, because Kyle and I, we obviously with an apparel brand, people affiliate apparel brands with influencers here, and here, all over the place nowadays. We went a different route, sort of, in terms of we are calling our people leaders because they're at the forefront. But to the exact point that you were making is we handpicked 3 leaders, 3 people that we know very well that understand the business side, but they also understand the creative side. So that, they are teaching and influencing people in terms of inspiring them to, and basically empowering them to be, who they want to be. But they understand, yes, you need that creative piece, but you also have the business as well.
Yep. Yeah, we think of our influencers, so influencer partnerships, that's a big part of what we do every day for our clients as well. And we think of them as our external content team, but they're not working hand in hand with the client. So it's something different for us, so that, we can create this content with the influencer, get a lot of engagement, hopefully drive traffic to our clients' social media pages. But in the end, it's someone on our end generating those reports and making sure that it's a worthwhile influencer. And I don't know if you guys have run into this yet, or have you seen what's the new HBO show or documentary, Fake Famous? Have you watched Fake Famous yet?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, it's terrifying. So it's about the idea is that you can so easily become an influencer these days because of all the bots you can purchase. And there are so many fake influencers out there right now. And these companies will a lot of times just see how many people like a page, and they're not looking at engagement, relevant engagement. And they're paying these influencers money for their content or their posts, where 80% of their followers are bots. And it's happening a lot. And so we actually have a social media manager on our team, an influencer manager, who audits each of the influencers we work with too. So we have a very expensive software that we use to audit all of these influencers, to make sure they're followed by real people, and to make sure that the engagement isn't just a bunch of emojis, because that's that's what a bot looks like, because they can't really interact with real sentences, or they'll say like cool, everything's cool, or like okay symbol,
Right.
that kind of thing. And so we'll really dive deep with our influencer partners just to make sure that our clients' money is being well spent, because there are a lot of fake ones out there now.
Yeah. I'm sure somebody's going to watch this and they're going to look at it and be like, all right, now I got to rethink my strategy.
Like, oh no. Yeah. So we use a software called Clear, and they do a really great job weeding out the bad influencers and helping to search for influencers. So if you're even looking for a certain type of influencer, if you're looking for female athletes in a particular region of the United States, maybe you're looking for a micro influencer, or, maybe we're hoping for 20,000 followers plus. It'll give you a list of those people so that you're not digging through Instagram or TikTok, looking with hashtags or whatever it might be, which is just so cumbersome. It works and you can usually find good people, but it takes a lot of time.
Got to save money as like a startup.
Yeah, saving money is.
Yes. Right now, do the searches, do the organic searches. When you're big time, get a fancy software.
Yeah.
Kyle, were you gonna ask something? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. Quick question: what kind of target customer do you have? Do you work with a lot of startup companies, or is it more so more established companies that might have been in business for 3 to 5 years or more?
It's both. So we've worked with very large companies. We work with one of our largest clients now is Society Insurance. It's a national insurance company with offices all over the United States. Floyd's 99 Barbershop is one of our clients. They have 120. It just changed. It changes all the time. 120 locations nationwide, I believe. But then we work with some, smaller mom and pop restaurants, and it's a team of 7, and we just really believe in what they do, and we want to work with them. So that's another beautiful thing I think about owning your own business. You get to decide who you want to work with and what types of clients you want to work with. And there have been some cases during even the proposal process, the sales process, where I'll get some red flags with a client or a potential client. And, if they're rude to me or rude to my team, or say something that is off-putting that I know could come up down the line, then I can say, I don't think we're a great fit. Whereas if you're working for somebody else, you just have to take that person. Right. That person is now your client and you're working with them, even if in the grand scheme of things, they're a terrible person at heart. You just have to deal with that day to day. And I don't want my team to have to work with those people. And I don't want to have to work with those people. But just to go back to your original question, we work with all types of sizes of businesses, but in the end, I think everyone we work with, they're all good people. We choose to work with them because we like them.
Right. That's a great boss mentality.
Yeah.
Like for the people, by the people. It's you talk as if you're working for everybody else instead of them working for you, which I think is a great mentality to have at the end of the day.
Oh, our team.
Absolutely.
My team is everything to me. I do try to use our agency instead of my agency, because in the end, yes, I'm typically the one who brings in the clients. I'm the one who pitches the clients and gets them on retainer. But the reason we have grown, that's because we have amazing team members. The people on my team are the reason our clients stay. So I bring them on, and then they're provided with fantastic account management, and they stay, and that's why we grow.
Awesome. So back to a little bit of the influencer talk, since that is a lot of social media today.
Oh yeah.
So your advice for like a nano or a micro influencer, what would be some of the points that you would give them to help them grow their audience?
So first off is grammar and punctuation, as silly as that sounds. So when we're searching for an influencer for our clients, we want to make sure that they are representing our clients in an accurate fashion. And if we go to somebody's social media post and it's just full of grammar mistakes, spelling mistakes, whatever it might be, I don't care if you have 1 million followers. We don't want you writing about our clients with a bunch of mistakes. That's just not how we operate. So I would say proofreading, as boring as that sounds, that's a big piece to it. That's how we try to find people. Beautiful content, captivating content. Majority of the influencers we work with are either professional photographers and videographers or amateur, photographers, videographers, or they have someone they're working with shooting this beautiful photography and videography. So, if you're, again, shooting just dim, dark, just ugly photography, then again, I don't care how many followers you have. We don't want to work with you because that's our client. We don't want our client to look ugly. So that's another piece. But engagement, I would say the another big thing for me is engagement. And so if people are commenting on your posts, comment back, tell them thank you, answer questions. And that's what I've found to be the most impactful for our clients is when the influencers we work with are engaging with the people commenting on their pages, because then they're talking at the client too. It ends up being this additional advertising moment for you where somebody says, oh, that hotel room looks beautiful. And then the influencer says, oh my gosh, you should see the view. It's right over Union Station. And it's just that extra push that we need to show that they're really advocating for the brand.
All right, Kyle, there we have our tips that we both need. Usually it's just like my mother and myself going back in the comment section, back and forth. But I'll need to, all right, now I know what I need to do.
Yeah, and influencer marketing, it's changing daily too. So for a while it was all photography and it was all Instagram, and then TikTok took over and everything is video now. And you have to be really creative to come up with that much content on a regular basis. So the video is really pushing out photos, even in Instagram, which actually makes me kind of sad because I love scrolling through Instagram and just seeing beautiful photos, which I think there's still a place for, but it's harder to capture attention that way. And so we've found now what we've been doing a lot is teaming up with influencers who are great at shooting content and then using that video content for our clients. And we'll actually create an agreement for them saying, we're going to give you a room in this hotel, a dinner at this restaurant. It's altogether, it's worth $500. But you're going to give us the rights to use your content. And we incorporate that into our influencer agreements, and it ends up being just an additional resource for content creation for us.
So, okay, so you talked a little bit about like TikTok and Instagram. In terms of Twitter, Facebook, and like YouTube, Facebook's more of, it's not really like the influential type, it's more for like businesses. Mm-hmm. But as like Twitter and YouTube go, do you work a lot with content creators for those platforms?
We don't work a lot with YouTube, only because we don't have the capabilities on our team to create that much video. So if we were to hire, or if one of our clients were to hire a videographer, we can help to design that content to say, we're going to put together a calendar and figure out what we'd like to shoot day to day. But at this point in time, our clients haven't requested that. And with the types of clients we're working with, a lot of them, YouTube wouldn't be a resource for purchasing these items. So it's just not a great fit for us. It's something I think will potentially come down the line, but we're not using it often now. Twitter, we used for only 2 clients. And this is partially because you have to be posting so often with Twitter. With Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you can post once a day or once every 2 days, and you're fine. But to continue to be relevant and to be followed on Twitter, you need to constantly be pushing information out. And once our clients see what type of budget it would take to constantly be pushing out messages from Twitter, they usually decide that that's not the best fit for them. And again, Twitter is another spot where people aren't making or deciding on purchasing decisions by scrolling through Twitter. Whereas on Instagram, you might be looking for a place to eat that night. And it happens just because of the type of client we typically work with too. But you might be looking for a place to eat tonight. And so you're searching the hashtag Denver restaurant. And then you see a bunch of beautiful food pop up, and that's how you decide where you will eat. And that's where you click to make your reservation. So it depends on the type of business. I think there's definitely a place for Twitter, and some people are doing it incredibly well, but you can't just use Twitter once every couple days and think it's going to move the needle for you.
Right. So in terms of this question's twofold. One, which social media platform from your experience has the best CTR, so click-through rate? And then two, does that go hand in hand with the ads? So if you were to buy ads on Facebook, do you see the best conversion on Facebook?
Yeah. So in our experience, Facebook is number one in that area. And I think a lot of it does have to do with the fact that paid advertising can be very easy to set up on Facebook and target very specific demographics, very specific regions, types of people with certain types of likes. And the way they've set up Facebook advertising and Facebook campaigns, it just is very user friendly for a business to capitalize on those click-throughs. Instagram is right behind them. TikTok, we haven't seen a huge lift in sales from anything we've really done with TikTok, but I do know that it helps just for brand recognition and to stay at the top of mind. So if somebody keeps popping up on an influencer's feed in TikTok, then it's not going to hurt you. We might not see that direct click through, but you still might be at the top of mind when you're thinking about purchasing a product or visiting a business, whatever that might be.
Right. So we ran some ads just for the sake of testing it out. And Facebook, oh my God, because they run with like bots on the back end, they flagged our ad and then disabled our account. And then it took me like 3 weeks to get in touch with them to get it back. And then they were like, oh, sorry, like this should not have been flagged in the first place. And I was like,
that's happened to us before.
It's the price you pay for the bots on the back end. They just scan, every now and then. And then if you try to get it accepted, then they finally have like a human look at it.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it doesn't. That has definitely happened to us before too. So it's not just you. It happens to everybody, and it always takes a long time to get in touch with somebody.
Yeah. So just for people's awareness that may be viewing this, Facebook, they don't have a customer service phone number or a customer service email. So if somebody comes to you and they try to give you their number, or you go to click on an email or something online, they do not have customer service. So you have to work internally through the ads manager. So,
and I know at least this is so I'm not the person who manages our paid ads. One of our digital account directors does that, but she has also told me that you have to stay at your computer forever. So if you send Facebook a message and they you start working at someone on something else and you don't respond to them, you're back to the end of the line again. So as soon as you reach out, you have to make sure you're really paying attention.
Yep, man. Oh my! Your queue number goes from 3 to 300 real quick.
Yep.
Not good at all. Kyle, did you have any questions? I keep cutting you off.
Yeah, no, you're good. So you did mention that you work with, different customers all along the spectrum, whether they're startups or if they're already well-established companies. In your opinion, what if you could bucket into, one or two different reasons? Obviously, when they come to you, there's some type of challenge they're facing when it comes to marketing and public relations. What would you say is one of the largest challenges that companies face, whether it's a startup or an already existing company, today, just because things change so frequently. Like Cam had mentioned, everything with algorithms in Google and how search terms come up. Something that might have worked really great 2 years ago might end up costing you and hurting you in the algorithms, or not hitting your target consumer in today's day and age.
So for us, I think a lot of what we do for clients is, again, I'll say it again, keep them at the top of mind. And in terms of challenges, it's that for a while, it was a good thing. Our economy was booming. So we had businesses opening left and right, new products coming out on a regular basis. And so you would be at the top of mind one moment, and then you're pushed down to the bottom because this new product has already entered the market, and here they are, and everybody's already forgotten about you. Same goes for restaurants and hotels, which is the majority of who we work with. New restaurants are opening, new hotels are opening, and then you're old. So, you open one weekend, you're the hot news, you're all over. And then the next hotel or restaurant opens and everybody has already forgotten about you. So what we do for the majority of our clients is continue getting them press, if we're talking about that side of the business. So continue to find reasons for writers and producers, editors to write about these businesses. So it could be a seasonal opportunity. It could be something as silly as National Hamburger Day. So we know National Hamburger Day is coming up. We know so-and-so has the best cheeseburger in town. So we are going to pitch this cheeseburger to a variety of writers to make sure that they write about this restaurant on National Cheeseburger Day. So keeping them at the top of mind in a market that continually has new businesses opening up, I think that is where we end up being very helpful in solving that problem for people. Same goes for backlinks. So if you all are paying attention to all of the algorithm changes with Google, backlinks are more important now than they ever have been. And so if in terms of SEO, so if you are generating backlinks to very relevant press outlets, then that's going to improve your SEO. So it's so much better than, for a while, people were all emailing each other saying like, hey, will you post about me and your blog, and I'll post about you and my blog. And then it's creating this backlink, which gives you that numbers component. But in terms of domain authority, actually getting a relevant backlink from a website people read often, it wasn't improving your SEO. And so now, if you're getting backlinks through a piece of press coverage from PR, then your domain authority increases because they had a high domain authority. And then Google sees you as relevant because people are clicking on, we'll just say Wall Street Journal, that article that goes to your business, and all of a sudden you're very important in Google's eyes. So that's one area where we help our clients too. And it's just kind of the under the radar thing that PR does for businesses. You don't even know that it's helping your SEO, but it is because you're getting these credible backlinks.
It's some great information.
Yeah.
So this is
knowledgeable on the subject.
Right. So this is, you don't have like pricing packages, right? You work on like a per, I guess like a per client basis as to for what they want to achieve.
Yep. And we customize each package for each client because each client is different. Some people are only marketing to the Denver community or the Boulder community. Some of our clients are marketing nationally. Some are trying to get their name out in front of other businesses because they're a service-related business versus a consumer-related business. So everybody has just a different idea of what they need, and we have a different package to accommodate that person. So we don't work in a cookie cutter scenario where it's this much for PR and this much for marketing or email marketing and this much for social media. And that also comes from my time on the client end. So I found that the agencies I worked with that really helped improve our sales were helping us from a variety of different approaches. So sometimes it's grassroots marketing, sometimes it's getting that press coverage, sometimes it's social media strategy. They all work together to get you that recognition in the consumer's eye. but not everybody does it or needs to do it in the same way. So we do customize for every client.
Which is awesome. I mean, I would love like the customized package more than just obviously people going through the motions, just to fill the package that I bought. So,
and you're wasting money too. You know,
right.
that this is built directly for you. Like, we're not going to try to pitch somebody on something they don't need.
Right.
You know, not everybody needs a national press. Yes, it might help their domain authority, but is it going to actually get people to make reservations or to book a stay? Probably not. Maybe not.
Right. For sure. So in terms of do you or your team use any resources like Pluralsight, Udemy? Like I think YouTube has an academy now, in terms of staying on top of the latest trends?
So we do a lot through Sprout Social. So Sprout Social is our social media scheduling tool and reporting tool. It's another item we purchase, but they do a lot of conferences, webinars. They were hosting them in person again before everything became virtual. And so we do a lot of webinars with them. And then most recently, I actually reached out to an agency owner. I mean, in a way, a competing agency again, but I know she focuses just on social media, and she's hyper focused in social media and has one of the best paid strategy teams in Denver. And so I reached out to her to ask if she could just put together a small, she does a lot of speaking opportunities. So I asked if she could put together a little curriculum for our social team just to go over any changes that happened in 2020 that we might not be aware of in terms of the algorithm or strategies or campaigns that are working well now that weren't working in the past, especially when it comes to paid. And so she was nice enough to actually put together a 5-class curriculum. So every Thursday we had a Zoom with her where she'd walk through different pieces of social media and how we could improve them this year versus last year and kind of going through the changes. So we continually educate ourselves on all things digital. And I'm definitely the novice on our team. You know, I'm not the specialist in that area, but I know enough to understand that it changes daily. And so they have to continually educate themselves.
It comes back to having that network.
Yeah,
it sure does.
Yeah, it does.
Did you have any questions for us that you'd like to ask? I know that we talked a little bit about what the company is, but I didn't know if you had any questions of your own.
So how do you two know each other? How did you decide to get into this together?
We grew up together. We went to every grade school together, stayed in touch through college, both played college sports. And last March, actually, it's like a year ago.
Coming up on a year, yeah.
Yeah, when we both started working from home. So Kyle works for Nestle in logistics.
Oh, cool.
And then I obviously with Lockheed in finance. So we sat down since we both started working from home, not knowing that we'd still be working from home a year later. We pulled the trigger. There was never a better time to sit down, and we started hopping in calls with people all over the world. Like we've talked to people in Russia, Singapore, China, Dubai, like Canada, London. So like we've definitely been creating that similar network of internationally, of course. Obviously, we've talked to a lot of companies in the US, but they're obviously like triple the price. And for a startup, it can be a little bit hard.
Oh yeah.
At times with some of that stuff. So yeah, we've known each other forever. And like I said, there was not a better time than to start this company.
Have there ever been any differences in opinion where you're like, I want to do this? I'm like, I think that's a terrible idea. How do you navigate those situations, or have they come up?
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah. I mean, they've come up for sure, but we're very good with listening to one another. So thankfully we see eye to eye on a lot of things. But there are differences that obviously that I have and that Kyle have, but we look at it from a few different angles and a few different perspectives. And at the end of the day, we make the decision based on what we think is best for the company, without like my vision or Kyle's vision necessarily getting in the way.
Yeah. One thing that I kind of like too that we do is we'll both kind of hold our ground until we fully understand the other person's side. So there have been times where we've been in calls for like 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm having Cam just explain something to me 15 different ways so I can finally understand where he might be coming from. And then over time, we'll both eventually start seeing eye to eye. But, we'll both definitely make sure that we're understanding exactly what the other person's trying to say if we don't agree with it at first, so that we can come to an agreement.
Communication is key. Communication is everything.
And when we sat down, we were looking for an apparel brand, because obviously this market has gone from saturated to underwater. It's completely sunk. And we sat down and we were looking, and there's no real apparel brand for entrepreneurs. So like people that are obviously surrounded by like-minded individuals and or companies. And then we also looked at it in terms of, okay, what does the apparel industry not have? Which we set out, and we wanted to pioneer a new category in the industry, and we're calling it vision wear. So we're going to be the first apparel company to actually invest back in entrepreneurs. Like we go with the premium, obviously premium, like everything is custom down to the stitching, right? For like a less price. So it's not going to be like $60 for a shirt, because we also know our target audience are entrepreneurs, and they're not going to spend $60 on a shirt for that.
Like to save money. Yeah.
But then, because of what we believe in and the people that we're trying to get, to surround themselves with our company, we take, the points that they can accumulate, and we match them 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, and like send PayPal or Venmo to their business to actually put the money forth to their business. Because for us, it's not about like the cash up front, because it's the cash up front's not going to it can break us, but it's not going to make us right away. So we decided that, we'd love to bring people along with us and be the first ever company to actually invest back into their consumer group.
I love that. It's a new idea. You don't get that often these days. Everything's been done, but I haven't heard that. I love it.
Yeah. We spent like 4 months looking for it too.
Really?
Like just all over the internet. We were, it was like we were searching for the Titanic. We were looking at every single angle, trying to see if there was another company or another brand in general that did that. But the closest thing that companies get are giving you like 5% cash back to put forth towards like future purchases. So like you can obviously use your points towards purchases if you want to. Otherwise, we'll invest in your business, or you just give us a URL to a charity that you want, and we'll match it 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 to a charity of your choosing, and we'll make that donation in your name.
So can you do branded shirts and things like that too? If somebody were to say, like, we're all walking this race together as a team, would you be able to design something that also has your brand, but like something different?
Yeah, so we would be able to do that. Our MOQ for doing that would be 100. So like, you'd at least need to have 100.
Get 100 people.
Right. Yeah. Right. And and it would also come down to where the particular group wants to manufacture the shirts, because like we said, we have companies in the US, we have companies in China and Singapore that we could order from. So it just depends on what the client would be looking for.
Yeah. I was thinking about the charity component. That's why I brought up that idea. Just if somebody as a company was supporting a charity, then that's a nice angle for you guys to get in and say, well, we'll give this back to your charity. So you buy the shirts from us, and then we give a percentage back to your charity on top of it. Kind of
right. Cool. Yeah, we both got sick of the 9-to-5. I mean, we're still doing it to pay for this venture. But like you had talked about in the beginning, the leap that you made, it's scary, right, at first. But now you don't have to look back and think what could have been, because you're living it. And we just don't want to, we don't want to have that regret.
Yeah. There's always a sense of risk involved. I mean, when you start a business, you're taking a risk, and that is what I tell myself. I mean, I hope I never have to lay anyone off. I hope we never get to that point. We just continue growing. But that is something I tell myself, is that if I did have to let somebody go because the business is not doing well, I would feel guilty, but also I'm the one who took that initial risk. And so, I paid you for as long as I could pay you. And I hate the fact that we're not doing well now, but this is my company and my risk. You might, if you started your own company, you might still be working right now. And granted, I don't want my people to walk off and start their own companies. I love all my people, but that's part of the risk you take when you put your livelihood in somebody else's hands. And that's one of the reasons I do like owning my own business, is if I fail, I have nobody else to blame but me and myself. And I have confidence in myself. And I think we will continue to grow. And that's a nice feeling, not being dependent on someone else who you might not have as much confidence in.
Right. Yeah. Completely true. Completely true. I did have one last question, and it's just in terms of like social sharing links, such as like Linktree, Card. I don't know if you've heard of Card, but a lot of these companies, they're building like the landing platforms. I'm sure you've heard of Linktree.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? I don't know if you have thoughts on that social sharing.
I think they're really helpful. So one of the, especially for Instagram, just knowing that that was the biggest issue for Instagram at the beginning. How do we take these people, take our viewers, take our followers to the link we want to take them to, not to another Instagram page? You could always tag things, but we want them to purchase something, or we want them to make a reservation. And now with things like Linktree, we use one called Embed Social, which I really like too. That's giving people the capability from a business standpoint. It makes more sense to drive traffic to the actual revenue generating piece of the business versus just another page, whatever that might be. So in terms of capabilities, I think it's incredibly helpful for actually creating return on some of those posts. But from a consumer standpoint, I think it's just providing you with more information too. Like, how many times have you gone to a social media account and you think, oh, I just want to visit the website, and the wrong link is in the profile, and you think, oh, that's not where I want to go. It's taking me to an article they were published in. Linktree and Embed Social takes that piece out. You can go to the website if you want. You can go to the purchase page if you want. You can go to the reservations page if you want. And I love that.
Right. Yeah, we love that stuff too. We use it. We find it beneficial. But so for your social media, you have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and then obviously your website, and they're all consistent at Prim the Agency. Right. Okay. Yep. Just for people, we can obviously link all that stuff. But yeah, so primtheagency.com, that'll connect them to your website.
Yes. Well, thank you. It's been great talking to you guys.
Yeah, no, we appreciate the time and everything and all the information. So we'll be in touch for sure. But thank you. And
yep. Have a great day.